Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Sitting in the park, writing questions for people. If you could think of if you could think of any questions you want me to ask people, leave them in the comments and consider asking them. No normal, boring, mundane, usual questions, please. Had enough of them, you fucking bread gang. You know what the fuck you are. You know what you're doing. I mean, for the views, we're trying to actually document a spider web of sorts, and in the meantime, trying to make as much art as we can. See, my life taken literally on its own is a bit of a tragedy. My life represented creatively is a saga. It's a parable. And it's archetypal. I've heard a lot of others that go through a lot of the same shit. And where I'm from, in Byron Bay, there are some people wrapped up in some fucked up, serious shit. And I feel it's my God-given job to help them out of it. What do you do when the stories that you keep on being told are these bloodlines have been around ancient, back to Babylonian shit, and you ever wonder why Byron Bay became so popular for Hollywood all of a sudden? Yeah, Oprah Winfrey, you know what you did. Yeah, but it may have started with you, I don't know, but I do know it's been going on for decades, and I've been hearing these stories ever since I was a wee little lad. People being disappeared, and the usual suspects, the ones without last names, or people that don't investigate because nobody cares about them. They're targeted by cults that murder them. I know a few of these people. It's an open secret who these murderers are in my area. And I'm just looking for some motherfuckers to actually start giving a fuck enough to start doing shit about this, man. Because there's been a lot of shadow games. The podcast in full will be released soon, which does show all the evidence backing up what I've said. And just because I'm releasing this as a creative fiction does not mean that the truth cannot be told creatively. That's all I fucking do. And I got a mission. So I'm gonna be about it. And you're gonna see me a lot more regularly out here. And if you people want more, if you're curious how the story ends, then please donate, support. I'll Patreon link below. You guys want to be part of a podcast?
What's that, brother?
Do you want to be part of a podcast?
What's it about?
It's called The Reckoning. I just ask people what they reckon about shit.
Yeah? Yeah, let's go. Right on. You mind if I film us?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, bro. Yeah, nice. I'm Basil.
Danny.
Nice to meet you, Danny.
Nice to meet you. I'm Nate.
Nick, nice to meet you.
Nate.
Meet.
Nate.
Ah, neat.
Yeah, I'm from Canada.
I'm just gonna move this so you can see more of us. There you go. Alright, that should pick up. Hey, you got a GoPro too.
You
hey.
know it, brother. Filming a travel show. So do you want to be on my travel show?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Yeah, sure.
Awesome.
Hey, brother.
What's going on?
Podcast to podcast.
Hi, man.
Oh, the ginger. Oh my God. So, I'm Basil.
Emily.
Nice to meet you. Wow, like that didn't take long at all, man. Shit.
Yeah.
So I planned just to put that there, and
Yeah.
I was like, "There's gonna be people come soon. I don't know who.
Yeah.
But there's 4 of you,
Fucking right.
and it's very interesting because like there's like this repeating theme in my life of 4s.
Yeah, right.
Like I was born on the 4th,
Yeah.
and there's like it's unlucky in Japan, the same number that means death or whatever.
And I got a Fab 4 album right here.
You got a Fab 4 album.
So there's the 4s for you, my friend.
Heaps of 4s.
That's a lot of 4s. And, you know, like my podcast isn't that big, but I just got a little note on it before, like a person said, it's time for you to get more than 4 views. So I was like,
You've had so much 4 today.
there's a lot of 4s.
Yeah.
Definitely. I don't know. I feel like my life is some sort of prophecy of sorts.
Yeah.
I mean, as weird as that sounds, do you guys relate at all? Have you ever... I mean, like, I've even spoke to a lot of very normal, like NPCs, I'll call them, or whatever, through society. Not that you guys look like that at all.
Yeah.
But even them have had dreams that have come true, like literal dreams while they're sleeping. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Do you have examples?
Oh my gosh. I actually recently, I've had some dreams, but recently I had this gut feeling that my family is going to get really good news and that my sister was pregnant. And the next day, after I told my mum, she announced that she's pregnant. So I'm going to be Auntie M soon.
No, you cannot write that.
Yeah. So you just had a feeling there would be some good news of sorts.
Yeah, I've had like weird dreams as well. Like I don't even know how to describe it. I had this one dream where there was like a body in space, and I went into its mind, and there was colors bursting out of the head, and it was like an eye, and just like weird dreams like that. Not really a prophecy, just like I don't talk about it much because it sounds absolutely bonkers. But
Yeah, that's really interesting.
all 5 people that listen to this are just gonna.
And I'll just get like a gal from people, like, and I'll be like,
Yeah.
what is this? Is it because I'm wearing a leather jacket? Is it because I have tattoos? Because I have baggy pants? Like, whatever.
Or maybe it's that unique that they have to, embrace your culture as well.
Cultural appropriation is not Asian enough to wear. We're wearing that shit. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm from Brisbane.
Yeah.
I live in Brisbane at the moment, and I believe that it doesn't matter who you are, you can be whoever you want to be, and don't fucking be normal. That's why I bought these fucking crazy glasses, because fuck people and their expectations.
Groovy.
Yeah.
I'm Nate from Canada, and I think that we're largely the sum of our imagination, and some people have the capacity to imagine more than others, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, of course.
Right on.
Yeah, I mean, like, because I feel like if it wasn't for our imagination, how can you imagine yourself out of the pits that you fall in life? You know, like...
You know, it's all an illusion anyway, so it's how you're going to perceive it, and you know how you're going to manifest
Embrace
that
it.
into exactly.
Yeah.
It's all about your attitude.
Well, like I'm contrarian in nature, so because I grew up in Byron Bay, we're all about like, you know, you just manifest reality and nothing's real in the Maya and the Matrix and all. And I'm like, I'm contrarian by nature, so I actually believe in an objective reality, but I think we all perceive it relatively.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I don't know the answers, because how can you ever get outside of your head to really know? Because we're all
Exactly.
perceiving it. You know?
That's like the one thing is like we understand everything and nothing at the same time. It's like just that.
Yeah, do you think there's a part of you that like knows things and but it's filtered through your ego, you know? So you still have to frame it in some kind of context of this world to really think about it if you're going to use your like bodily mind, your ego or whatever. But there's this knowing, that part of you that gave you that dream, maybe, you know, that knows things outside of, you know,
I think we're just like
your vehicle.
we're all like a part of the universe. Like we are the universe. I don't know how to describe it.
No,
It's like
I know exactly
you're
what you
everything
mean.
and nothing at the same time.
I'm of the completely opposite opinion.
Okay,
Yeah,
nice.
but I think that's got a lot to do with being contrarian and growing up in Byron Bay.
Yeah,
See?
but like that's the beautiful thing. We're all allowed our own opinions as long as they don't hurt anybody else, obviously, because...
I truly think that, yeah, people... Hurt is so subjective. They can be hurt by opinions, that's fine, but I'm always going to say the truth of the way I feel.
Maybe
Like,
impact negatively on other people.
Yeah, of course. Truth can hit people hard sometimes, you know. But I feel truly in my heart that, you know, the true you, the true me, whoever we are, is the only part of this place, this world, that actually isn't part of the world.
Yeah.
You know, like, I think that's what it was meant when he said, like, in the world, but not of it. So there's a part of you that I feel that is connected to the all, let's say. But yeah, that part is tricky to try to hear sometimes because he's buried, especially in the city.
Yeah.
I just gave him a he. So assuming the pronouns of my ethereal identity, like I'm Basil, I identify as a herb, you know, personally. But I think that people should be allowed to reckon whatever they like. Like that's the whole idea. I started this podcast 10 years ago called The Reckoning because I moved to Melbourne and I noticed, wow, there's a lot of people not okay with people believing things or expressing themselves in certain ways. And I'm like, I'm okay with a person believing and expressing whatever the fuck they like about anything.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because I'm autistic. I don't know. But like, do you think that that's, I don't know, a trait that you see a lot in like Melbourne, the contouring of people's identities, reckonings by pressures like covert, overt, in jobs, in life, and friend, and environment, society?
I think I can have you heard of the 100 monkey theory?
Yes.
Okay. For those who aren't aware, it's not necessarily 100 monkeys, it's a colony of monkeys, and I believe this happened near Japan. What they did was they taught one monkey in this colony a skill, and it involved using a tool to get food out of something. But what happened was expected. That trait was picked up amongst every monkey in that colony. Monkey see, monkey do. What wasn't expected was other colonies that had no contact with this colony began exhibiting that same trait. They learned that skill somehow without ever having contact with that other group of monkeys. Apply that to humans. Before we were able to cross continents, the one thing we all had in common was we went to great lengths to find gold, mine gold. We valued it greatly. Every culture around the world, having no contact, all knew that we wanted gold. No one can explain why. That ties into that 100 monkey theory that there is another plane that we are somewhat connected to that gives us that transferable skill, that gives us that similarity that we all want to possess gold for some reason. No one can explain why, but it's there, and
That's
no one
crazy.
can deny that.
That's crazy.
We're going real deep, real quick on the reckoning.
Dude, it could be like the genetics as well probably play a big factor. You know, like, do you believe that perhaps part of you is connected to all your bloodline and your history, your ancestors?
We are all connected, and here's a great example of it. The monarch butterfly. All the monarch butterflies go to a place in Mexico that is now preserved. They hibernate there. Now, these monarch butterflies come up to Canada, but what happens is another generation will be born in Canada, and then another generation. So you'll have about fourth generation removed, but this fourth generation monarch butterfly can somehow find its way all the way to that one spot in Mexico based on something that its fourth grandparent did. So imagine your great-great-great-grandparents doing a path, and you have that knowledge of taking that exact same path.
From genetics.
From genetics.
Yeah.
So somehow, although we can't define it or explain it, it is tied in somehow. There's that evidence that no one can refute. How would that butterfly ever know to get there? But it does. So no one can refute that, but more importantly, no one can explain that. That ties in with why we shouldn't be able to judge each other, because no one can fully understand that. So, and that applies to each of us. So until everyone has that understanding, how dare you judge?
I grew up personally like with a stutter, and I was mute for a lot of my life. Because once I finally started to speak, you know, I would get in trouble a lot for the things I believed.
Yeah.
You know, and expressed. So I went back to being mute. And then the other, fast forward a few years, you know, I became more complicit to society. I had jobs, relationships and such. And then, I found myself becoming more like them, like absorbed almost. And then I didn't like that. So I was in this dichotomy, like mute, exile, or complicit and absorbed into the society. But before I go, there's a third option. Creative fiction. Reckoning. All right, so my life, everything I do, I'm playing the artist card. Like, it's all art, it's all creative fiction, so people can interpret however they like, and I'll express what I actually believe, and it gives me license to actually say whatever I believe.
Well, when you say mute, the one point that I'll throw at is we can't learn anything by talking. We only learn by being mute, you're absorbing, you're learning, you're observing, and then you choose to then speak. You then choose to pass on what you have learned in some capacity, if that makes sense. So that's, in my mind, the advantage of being mute is you're learning a lot more, you're seeing a lot more than others. Those that don't stop talking rarely have that depth of what they're able to perceive, their depth of observations. You know, they'll walk past something, but someone with the right eyes will see what they have missed. So the less you speak, the more you're apt to learn.
Have you guys experienced this dynamic in life, you know, that dichotomy, you know, being absorbed into society? Or?
I think so. I think largely people don't really have a choice. Like, you must kind of conform on some level. Like, if you don't have a bank account, you're going to have large challenges in life, and it shouldn't really be that way. But the society has evolved that these constraints are now mandatory. Same with going to a cashless society. Many people would think that's a great idea, but then all of a sudden you can't donate money to somebody who's in need and might not want to have the shame of accepting that. If it's a cashless society, there's always a record of every single transaction, and some of them, you know, shouldn't be recorded.
Yeah.
You know, we should have that option to be human and not totally live our lives in those handcuffs. But so many people are willing just to run and create a cage for themselves in life, be it a family or a job that's just so locked down that they can't be themselves. They can't post on social media, say, because, I might get in trouble with my job. You are then limiting yourself, putting yourself in that cage voluntarily. Now, an important thing to remember, you can trap a flea. You can put a flea in a jar and put the lid on it. The flea will have the instinct to try to get out. It jumps and hits its head, and it learns. It will learn not to hit its head again. So it still wants to get out. It will jump, but it will jump just below that level. So you can actually take that lid off, and that flea will still trap itself. It won't jump any higher because it's afraid it's going to hit its head. So if you remove that perception, then you can jump out of that cage that's been created for you, or that you created yourself unknowingly. So just don't be afraid to hit your head.
Oh, yeah. No, I feel that. That was a great point, man.
Right on. I think we're going
to have to get going, because our guides are still waiting. But thank you so much for your time, mate.
Yeah, thanks for the reckoning.
So, what was your name?
Basil.
Basil. Name.
Yeah. It's the Reckoning podcast on YouTube down there. Please check it out.
The Bare Bones Records Hardcore Travel Show right there. So we're killing two birds, or actually, the Bare Bones Records Hardcore Travel Show. So right now we're getting two birds stoned with one joint.
Thank you.
Right on, brother.
Thanks so much, bro.
See you around.
Party on, dude.
Peace, man.
Thanks for your help. Get my camera.
Have a good one.
Thanks, Basil.
See you later.